I will call to order Reinvestment Zone number 16, City of Houston meeting. The first order of business will be to have a roll call. So if after I call you in, just let me know if you're present. Robert Clay. Here. Dot Cunningham.
Present.
Ethel Johnson. Here. Steve Lerner is here. Kendall Miller is not scheduled to attend. Judson Robinson.
Here.
Louis Sklar.
I'm here.
Lisa Simon.
I'm here.
Mary Carmen Tamez.
She was not scheduled to be here.
Okay, that's not great. Okay, so now let's have a roll call of the staff members. If you'll please identify yourselves.
Shannon Daniels.
Stephen Wood.
Bob Ethington.
Betsy Kirkgard.
Andrew Jarrett.
Kalia Garvin.
Joshua Flowers.
Nagma Nisar.
John Breeding.
Amy Escalante.
Okay, thank you. If there are any members of the public on the call, please identify yourself.
Margaret
Patrick Simmons.
Sorry, could you each repeat that? You were simultaneous.
Margaret, go ahead.
Margaret Dunlap with Metro.
Patrick Simmons with Whitley Penn.
Good afternoon. This is Lauren Morales with RBC.
Monica Esprua with Brinkley and Barfield.
A participant has joined the conference.
Did someone just join? If you would, please identify yourself.
This is Mark Arnold at Hunt and Andrews Kurth.
Okay, Mark, thank you. Anybody else who has not identified themselves?
Leslie Cook with RBC.
Arnell Emanuel, ABHR.
Okay, I think that sounds it. So for the conference rules, if you would, if you're speaking, please say your name so we'll know who's talking, and please everybody keep your phones on mute if you are not speaking. So the first order of business is to approve the minutes from the July 8th, 2020 meeting. If I could have a motion, please, to approve the minutes from someone.
This is Dot Cunningham, so moved.
Thank you, Dot. Second.
Lisa Simon.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. So now we're going to suspend Reinvestment Zone number 16 and call to order the Uptown Development Authority meeting. So we're going to go through the same process again, so please bear with me. We will call the roll. Robert Clay.
Here.
Dot Cunningham.
Present.
Ethel Johnson.
Here.
Steve Lerner is here. Kendall Miller is not here. Judson Robinson. Judson, I know you're there. You may be muted.
I'll text him.
Okay, Louis Sklar.
I'm here.
Lisa Simon. And
Here.
Carmen is, oh, good. Oh, I missed you before. Okay, great. Okay, now we'll go through the same process. Staff members, please identify yourself.
Shannon Daniels.
Stephen Wood.
Bob Ethington.
Betsy Kirkgard.
Andrew Jarrett.
Kalia Garvin.
Joshua Flowers.
Nagma Nisar.
John Breeding.
Amy Escalante.
Okay. Okay, and now we'll ask members of the public to please identify themselves.
Monica Esprua with Brinkley and Barfield. Margaret Dunlap with Metro.
Patrick Simmons with Whitley Penn.
Lauren Morales with RBC.
Leslie Cook with RBC.
Mark Arnold, Hunt and Andrews Kurth.
Anybody else from the public, please? Okay, the next order of business is to receive any comments or questions from the public. Does anyone wish to make any comments at this time?
None has requested.
Okay.
None has requested.
I'm sorry?
No one has requested it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Next order of business is to approve the minutes of the July 8th, 2020 meeting. So I would like to request a motion to approve the minutes.
Lisa Simon, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Scott Cunningham.
Robert Clay, second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next order of business is we're going to turn it over to Shannon Daniels for the quarterly investment report. That should be on page 3.
Okay, thank you. Starting on page 3 is the first of two of our quarterly reports. The first quarter we're here is January through March of 2020. Page 3 outlines our fund balances in each of the funds. The Capital Projects Fund for Capital One Bank had just over $2.6 million for the reporting period. Our funds with Region Bank total just over $3.5 million. For our infrastructure funds, which are held with the trustee, we had just over $16.9 million in our infrastructure funds at Bank of New York Mellon. And with our affordable housing funds that are at Bank of New York Mellon, we had just over $1.2 million. Page 4 of the report, the second page of this quarter, represents those balances that require collateral and investments that are authorized under our policy. With Capital One, which is our primary depository, we see that the $2.6 million was sufficiently collateralized with U.S. Treasuries and agency funds. Our Regions Bank deposits were also sufficiently collateralized. The funds that we held with the trustee at Bank of New York Mellon are invested in a money market fund, which is an approved investment, and those money market funds are in treasuries, short-term treasuries and agencies, $18.2 million there. Also, for our quarterly report, we'd like to let you know if we're in compliance with training. Investment officer training is required every 2 years. The last time was in May of 2018. Just to let you know, we were due this year, and John Breeding, who's the officer, had training in August of 2020, and myself, who assists him in those functions, so we are compliant there. Page 5 is the first page of our last quarter, April through June 30th, 2020. You'll see again here that we have our capital projects funds with Capital One Bank, just over $2.3 million, with our Regions Bank deposits, just over $1.7 million. And then in the infrastructure funds, we'll note that we have $27 million with Bank of New York Mellon. I would like to say that the activity there, you see $11 million coming in for collections. That is HISD funds that we received for our HISD tax increment. That's to be shared with affordable housing. The City of Houston tax increment funds were a little late this year, so they showed up in August. And then the last section on here is Affordable Housing Fund, and just over $1.2 million. Like I said, it was all received into infrastructure, and you'll see that we owe half of that to affordable housing, and you'll see that in the audit with accounting entries and whatnot. The second page of this report again talks about funds that require collateral, and we see that we are sufficiently collateralized with our Capital One Bank deposits, our Regions Bank deposits, and the funds that come into the Bank of New York Mellon account, which is our trustee, are in investments that are approved under our policy. Again, the training as of June was in May of 18, but again, we completed training in August. Are there questions or concerns regarding those two quarters?
Shannon, this is Louis Clark. What's the total amount of cash do we have available right now?
Like right now, off the top of my head, at the end of the reporting period, or like today?
Well, like today is, well, it's consistent with the timing of the reporting period, the numbers we're looking at.
Okay, well, at the time of this reporting period, what we see, that is the cash. It would be the sum total of all of that you see here, the 28 million, the 1.7, and the 2.3. And then technically, out of the 28 million that's with the trustee, roughly 5 of that is affordable housing fund. So I would say 23 million at this reporting period. Yeah, but again, I would like to say that the City of Houston increment was received late. It was 27 million. That would be some of that, 2/3 of that coming to our infrastructure account and 1/3 going to housing. But if you're looking at the end of the reporting period, we have that 28 million, of which 5 is in housing, which is not really available to us, and a receivable from the City of Houston to the tune of 27 million. And you would see those numbers reflected in our audit, which was discussed yesterday maybe, and you guys have in your package.
Shannon, when did we actually get the City of Houston payments?
I want to say about the 12th or so of August.
It was that was the point I was going to make. It was all
pretty,
the way into
yeah,
August.
It was all the way in August, and I'm trying to think. It may have been even later, because I do remember reaching out saying, "Hey, we need to get this situated because we have to make our debt service payments 9/1," and so I needed to make sure all the funds were with the trustee, all of the funds allocated to the right bucket, so that we would make our debt service payments. But it was a lot later than this year than normal.
Okay, thanks.
I think I gave you a lot and maybe too much, but any other questions? No.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
yeah, that's simply accepted by the board. I don't think you have to. You don't
That's
have
right.
to adopt
no
anything.
action. No action is needed on that item.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I guess the next item is also for Shannon on approving invoices.
Okay, thank you. What you have on page 7 is the first page, the summary of invoices for approval. Just a note, if you recall, back in June, we got authorization from you to pay certain invoices in the event that we did not have July and August meetings. I'll just note that for this page here on page 7, we're submitting. You authorized $200,000 for July and August payments in the event that we didn't meet. We actually paid $73,000 against that, so we were within your authorization. We are submitting to you a total of $105 for all 3 months, $215 for reimbursements to the district. On page 8.
Shannon, I'm just going to jump in. Of the 105 you see there, the 73 is included in that number?
The 73 is included in that 105.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Second page, page 8 of this invoice list is UDA contracts. Again, we requested authorization to pay 2 months worth of invoices to the tune of $750. We actually paid $497,000 in those 2 months. What you see here is $660,539 worth of payments. Included in that is the $497,000. So all of the payments together total just over $900,000. And then again, we have at the bottom UDA contract payments for 3 months and to the tune of $5.3 million, all total $6.3 million. Okay, yeah. Are there questions? Page 9 and 10 are just a little bit more information about those payments.
We do have to have a motion to authorize us to make these payments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Then can I have a motion to approve the payments, please?
Louis Clark, I so move.
Louis, a second.
Lisa Stein, second.
Robert White, second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the invoices are approved. The motion is carried. Thank you. Shannon, I think you're still up.
Okay, we'll talk real briefly about the MWDBE reporting. This is for the new fiscal year. This is for July and August invoices. This first page gives you a historical view. At the top, historically, we're at 39% for professional goal and 22% for our construction goals. The second half of this page is just this fiscal year to date. Again, we're 2 months into it, and you can see that we're at 62% for professional services and 50% for construction. I will note that we are moving into the land bridge construction phase, where that team has done a good job in terms of MWDBE for the construction project. I think overall it's a little over 30%, Andrew. Correct. And you'll see here that we're at 50% now, and that's with the couple of invoices that we've received from Telepson. If you recall that Tricon is one of their subs, and they're doing a lot of this work up front, which is contributing to the 50% match. That should level off a little bit as we move into the process or project, but this is what you have for the first couple months of the year. Then we just have the detail in the pages to come, and then just a little graphical depiction of where we are on the DBE percentages. Are there questions or concerns?
Hey, Shannon, Judson here.
Yes, sir.
Are there other measures that we could look at to really kind of evaluate how well the employees feel about the work that they're doing as relates to, performance on contracts, or just quality of the relationship they feel with their employer, and especially in the area of just the subs themselves who are receiving the minority contracts, if they're having any types of surveys or evaluations just in terms of, performance measures, quality of the relationship, things of that nature, just in terms of trying to make sure that we're really, cutting edge. I'm always proud of our numbers, but just any additional data that points to our ability to do a great job, I think, especially during these times, is important data to accumulate and then to share publicly as necessary or as requested, or just as, just us wanting to know.
Justin, were you, I want to make sure I understand. Are you asking us to look beyond, you said staff, but I think I was interpreting you to mean that have we talked to our sub-consultants to see that they are, evaluating their position?
Yeah, Don.
Because you use the word staff.
There was multiple suggestions in there, one being that, another being just if there's a lot of companies do kind of annual surveys of various degrees of just employee company relations, how people feel about their employer, etc. If any of that is available to us in terms of, not only do our companies perform well, our primes, but also they're just good companies. If they are showing up on any of these evaluations that are done annually, or if they do something internally that is something that can be publicly shared, I just think having that in our file box is also great to have.
Great questions.
Yeah, we don't really do anything at the moment. Yeah. So let me see, Justin, if I'm understanding. So it would be like, for instance, does Telepson keep something out there where their employees give feedback on what kind of company how they feel about working for Telepson, as well as how subs feel about working with Telepson? Is that where you're going?
Absolutely. I wish I could have said it as distinctly as you can. That's why you're who you are. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, yeah, we don't do anything like that at the moment.
Yeah, it's not a bad
But,
idea. Though.
yeah, it's not. I think,
It's interesting. I be candid with you. By the end of a project, the contractor is glad to get their final payments, and we're glad to make those final payments. But what you're asking is a more thoughtful of, let's sit down after this process and look back at what has happened, even from how the subs perform, but how the people within the organizations feel about those companies. That's interesting.
oh, yeah, we could certainly do some research on that and see if the company offers that and do some, yeah, let me think about that.
It takes some phone calls to begin, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you for that.
All right, good suggestion.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think we had, are there any more questions about this report? If not, then we have to move to authorizing the fiscal year 2019-2020 audit, and we still have Shannon to help us.
Okay, thank you. Everyone should have gotten a copy of the audit draft. Whitley Penn is our auditor, and we've been doing that work remotely. We have Patrick on the line if you have questions, but we also had the audit committee meet on yesterday, I believe that was, to get a more thorough review and presentation of the audit. If at this time, Mr. Chairman, you'd like to speak to that, or anyone that was on the committee?
I would. We went through the audit in probably in some amount of detail. I think we'd all reviewed it. I know that I had reviewed it. And we had it's a very nice presentation, by the way. So again, congratulations to Whitley Penn for doing a very nice job on it. But we did not have any questions. We also had an executive session, and there were no other issues that were raised that we need to bring to the attention of the board. But if there are specific questions, please feel free to ask away. Okay, in that case, I will request a motion to approve the fiscal year 2019-2020 audit, please.
Lisa Simon, I make a motion to approve the audit as presented.
Thank you, Lisa. Second.
Second.
Thank you very much. Perfect. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries and the audit is approved. We have one other item, which is to consider approval of a transit center lease agreement with the Metropolitan Transit Authority. You have the whole lease in your folder.
Patrick Simmons.
Please feel free to speak to it. Stephen, you and Mark Arnold, we're going to walk us through this, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'll just briefly introduce the subject, and I'll let Mark discuss the lease with the board. He's been representing us in the negotiations with Metro. As you all are aware, we've built the Bel Air Lower Uptown, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to call it Bel Air, the West Park Lower Uptown Transit Center, and Metro will be operating it. So for the practical reason of their operating our facility, we felt that we needed an agreement with Metro. But additionally, it is a requirement of the Federal Transit Administration that a grantee be in control of the facility, and the UDA is not a grantee. If you remember, the district is the grantee and transfers the grant funds to us, and the feds requested that we negotiate a lease with Metro, and Mark has been helping us with that. And so I'd like to introduce Mark Arnold with Hunt & Andrews Kurth, and he's going to discuss the details of the lease agreement with the board.
Great. Thank you. Great. Mark, you're on.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to be here, if not in person. So we have a very long lease. It is based on leases that we've done in the past, both with Metro and with other organizations. It is a lease of the Uptown Transit Center to Metro. The current draft is a 20-year term, although with this negotiations with the FTA, some of that may change to a 5-year term, I think, with automatic renewals. Stephen, you would know more about
that's
that
correct.
than I do.
That's correct, Mark.
Yeah, so the FTA didn't like the 20-year term. They would prefer the 5-year term with automatic renewals, so we're going to do that, and we just got that early this week in from them. The lease follows the interlocal agreement generally, which you entered into when you began this project. It leases the entire facility to Metro. They are responsible for maintenance and repairs of everything out there. They do not pay any rent, but they pay all operating costs and operating expenses. They also pay any taxes, should there be any taxes due in the future. We don't think that there will be. But it provides for the ability to have future development, but only if both parties agree. It's got your standard provisions of release and indemnification and our consent over alterations. Metro has to carry insurance in accordance with Metro's policies. We get to control the signage other than transit signage. They've got to operate it. They can't not operate it, or else that'll be a default under the lease. We've got all remedies at law and equity, as you would find in a typical lease. They cannot make changes to it without our consent. They cannot assign it without our consent. And I'm happy to take any questions to the extent that I've not covered it already.
Mark, this is John Breeding. What liabilities that remains with the Uptown Development Authority?
We've tried to draft this so that there are no liabilities that remain with the Uptown Development Authority unless somebody from the Uptown Development Authority gets on the premises and causes damage. Metro is responsible for capital repairs. There was a discussion between Metro about who's responsible for latent construction defects. We have assigned to Metro the non-exclusive right to enforce our construction contracts. The lease is silent as to who's responsible for latent construction defects, but that doesn't make us responsible vis-a-vis Metro for them, and it doesn't make Metro responsible. Metro is responsible for capital repairs caused by what's called physical obsolescence or functional obsolescence, which means physical means breaking things that break down. Functional means things that can be done better with an advent of new technology. So that is Metro's responsibility. You'll have to remember also that Metro is a governmental entity, so their obligations under this lease are subject to appropriation. There's nothing we can do about that. Metro could decide tomorrow to not appropriate, but then we would be able to terminate the lease and lock them out and have them not use the transit facility. So mutually assured destruction or some such thing. John, did that answer your question?
Yeah, and I anticipating from a board's perspective that we have no long-term liability here and that Metro is taking over our facility, and at the end of where we originally set up, I guess we're going to have a series of 5-year leases renewable, that they have to maintain it in a proper state of repair. But the good news is that they get a facility largely free to them, much like they got of Post Oak Boulevard and much like they got for the West Loop dedicated bus lanes. Mr. Chairman, we'd be glad to attempt to answer any question that the members of the board might have. If not,
I have one small question, John, and I'm looking at the insurance requirements. And they seem, maybe I'm looking at section 18.1.1 on the general liability. It seems that just $1 million, $2 million seems like a low number to me for this kind of operation. Has there been much discussion about the amount of insurance?
Yeah, this is Mark again. This is Metro standard insurance that they carry on all of their facilities. You have to remember Metro is also subject to the Tort Claims Act, which limits recovery against Metro for personal injury and certain property damages under torts. And so we originally had a higher amount of insurance, and this is where we wound up because this is what Metro carries.
Yeah, do we have the same benefit of that, though? In other words, if someone sues the landlord and the tenant, what's our exposure, if any, if it's a claim that exceeds this? They don't have that exposure, do we?
I mean, that'll get into whether a local government corporation has immunity under the Tort Claims Act. I've not looked at that recently.
Yeah, which I have no idea. Stephen, what's your thought?
Well, we will also carry liability insurance on the facility and are carrying it right now because, of course, we're solely responsible for the facility as it stands since we haven't entered into this agreement.
How much insurance are we carrying?
We'll be carrying $2 million in general liability plus a $10 million umbrella policy.
That's a good answer.
And,
okay.
I also don't know for sure about the question of liability under Tort Claims Act of a local government corporation. We've never tested that, fortunately.
Right. Okay. Well, good. I mean, the umbrella is a good way to do it. And then I guess, Mark, do they indemnify us from things other than things that we cause?
They do not, because as a governmental entity, indemnification is unfunded liability under state law. So we are, we're dealing with the opposite of who we are, or the same of who we are, to be honest. So we have a hefty release. We have a hefty release in here from them, where they agreed to release us from liabilities. We've also obligated them to make sure that of their contractors indemnify us.
Right.
They've got contractors up there.
That was the point I was going to make. Yeah, any of their contractors that are on the facility will have to indemnify us.
Okay. Well, I think the answer is that's why we have to keep a significant umbrella, and that sounds like the best answer.
That's right. And my suspicion is, if you want, we can look, but I do believe that Texas local government corporations are a governmental unit for the Claims Act. They're not a governmental unit for broader sovereignty, but they probably are for the Claims Act, to the extent they ever get to that, but have the insurance.
Yeah, but for purposes of this lease, I think I understand where we are. And does anybody else have any questions? If not, I'd like a motion to approve the lease, please.
Steve, Mr. Chairman, if we could make that motion with the proviso that we're going to probably amend the lease to a 5-year renewable term instead of a 20-year term.
Okay. Yes, as to be amended on the length of the term and now when you say renewable, is it renewable? Is it automatically renewable?
Yes.
What is it? Who's it renewable by?
It's going to be automatic. It's going to automatically renew unless one of the parties chooses not to renew.
Okay, understood. And why would a party choose not to renew?
Well, I don't think there's any reason why we would. I mean, it would be my preference to keep a 20-year term, but we're doing this at the request of the FTA, and I don't think we have a lot of ability to negotiate on that issue.
FTA is a
I just
Federal Transit.
I understand it. Yeah.
Federal Transit Administration, who has money in this project, and that's their requirement.
Got it. Not a problem. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the transit center lease as presented, subject to it being changed to provide for 5-year renewable terms? Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you, Robert. A second?
Second, Lisa.
Cunningham.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Helpful explanation. Okay. Next order of business, we are going to recess the Uptown Development Authority meeting. We are going to reconvene reinvestment zone number 16, City of Houston, and now we are going to adjourn both the reinvestment zone number 16, City of Houston, as well as the Uptown Development Authority. Thank you very much for participating.